Is Sony going... I can barely say it. Is Sony going bankrupt? Fallout set photo reactions. Alien Romulus gets exciting news. Furiosa trailer reaction. And my Game Award predictions. These are the stories we're going over tonight on the Console Wars podcast. Okay, so first off, you may have noticed that we didn't do a video this week. That's because just things kind of got away from me. I was working on a video to release this week, but I didn't get it done in time, and so I had to stop that to work on this video. That video should be coming out somewhere early this next week. It's a movie review, and I think you guys have a lot of fun with that. And then next week, we're not going to be doing a lot of gaming news or pop culture news. It'll be mostly just the reaction to the Game Awards, more specifically the trailer reviews. I'm not really going to do a reaction to the awards itself because I don't really care about, if Skillex99 is the East Player Champion of the Year or whatnot. They have some weird awards. And last year I watched it, and I didn't really care. I felt like it was 3 hours of my life I wasn't getting back. So I'm just going to wait till it's over, watch all the trailer reviews after, and next week's episode will be my reaction to those reveals. If you haven't hit like, subscribe on this video, I don't like to mention that on any other video verbally because I just feels like a waste of time and I want to get to the point. But on the Console Wars podcast, I'll mention it then because it is a long form video. Also, you can leave a super like, donations, and we also have memberships you can join if you want to do that. And so, yeah, let's get on with the show. So the first story is the one I kind of laughed at, and that is Sony may stop console production due to financial problems. I've also heard people claim that this is because they're going bankrupt, which automatically I want to call bullshit on because I don't see Sony going bankrupt. I really don't. This article by Social Bytes, I believe, goes on to read, Sony PlayStation, one of the leaders in gaming industry, is experiencing a financial crisis that could lead to the liquidation of its division. The portal reports this referring to Japanese analyst and investigator or investor Okubuk or Oku Barbecue. I don't know how you pronounce that. OKKUBBQ. That's a weird username, but moving on. According to the source, Sony hid from the public the fact that the sales of the PlayStation 5 console were unsuccessful. Allegedly, there are currently more than 13 million unsold devices left in the company's warehouses, which shows that interest in the console among gamers is low. Additionally, following the announcement of PlayStation President Jim Ryan's departure, Sony's gaming division did not name the CEO. This also raises doubts among experts about the company's future strategic development plans. According to the rumor reported by Oku, Sony is considering the option of leaving the gaming market because it's not profitable. The company is allegedly facing general financial problems and is more than $30 billion in debt. Still, netizens and experts say these statements should be taken with skepticism. I was very intrigued by this, and I posted on X. This is the second thing I've heard about Sony having problems, because that article was not the first one. I've actually heard this like a couple times, like 4 or 5 times across different platforms, whether that's news articles, X, Facebook, whatnot, YouTube. And I posted on X, this is the second thing I've heard about Sony having problems. Can anyone elaborate? I want to think this is nonsense, but I'm trying to investigate further. And someone responded, the gaming diver, it is nonsense. The source was from some Japanese kid from an otaku board. think of it as using Reddit as a source. Also got community noted. And then he shows the original post in Japanese, which I cannot read. Maybe some of you eagle-eyed viewers out there can read this better and confirm if this is actually just a Reddit post, and you can also confirm the community note. So that right there leads me to believe that this is probably nonsense, and I'm inclined to believe that it's nonsense simply because Sony is a company that is not solely into gaming. They have all kinds of tech and product. They have movies, and so like that alone is going to keep their gaming division up and running. From what I've seen, even if they're not acknowledging that 13 million of their units haven't been sold, like one of the arguments is that in their sales numbers of like, I think it's like 41 million units or something like that, in reality it's 13 million, yes, and they're just lying about units that they've put out in the wild. Now, that being said, I have it on good authority that like they have done this before with games, like with The Last of Us Part 2. It's been heavily claimed that the 4 million units sold on its opening weekend that they claimed they did was actually them counting units they sold to Walmart, Target, Best Buy, all the retail stores. And so, you know, you sell 500,000 units to Walmart and you count it before they're sold. I've heard a lot of argument to that. And so that right there, that Sony is claiming units have been sold when they've like just sent them out to Walmart and retailers, I can buy that. And then other things like with the poor decision making of having like the Pulse advanced earbuds, you know, making those when you already had the DualSense headset or the Pulse 3D headset. Like that's kind of a weird financial decision they did. The PlayStation Portal, a lot of people are saying they're sold out everywhere, but a lot of reviews I've been seeing on the Portal have been very negative. And so, like, that was kind of a bad decision. And then, like, other things, like, there was this article from Per Square. PlayStation has helped plant over 500,000 trees in the last year. Now, I'm not saying that this was a bad decision because I actually like to breathe, and the more trees we have, the better we can breathe. But, like, how much did that cost Sony? Seriously, how much did that cost them? Like, I don't know. Did that hurt their financial sector? And then you could also make the argument on the other half. Like, if they're doing so poorly, why would they have spent the money to plant over 500,000 trees? So, there's a good argument to say, well, that shows that they're actually financially solvent. I've been hearing some reports that the PlayStation VR 2 is not selling amazingly well, and they had to pull back their adjustments on how many units they expected to sell on what they actually sold. Again, don't really know if that's indicative of them going bankrupt. Like, honestly, I feel like this is probably a false start. I don't think Sony is in a lot of trouble. I don't think they're getting their ass handed to them by Xbox or Nintendo, even though Nintendo, if you're looking at console sales per generation, the Switch has outsold the PS5 by a mile. But keep in mind, the Switch came out in the middle of last generation. Like, Nintendo has like a wheeled mid-generation release where they don't release it at the start of a generation with like the other console manufacturers. They release it halfway through the previous console generation. It's kind of weird. And so technically the Switch is of the PS5 and Xbox Series X generation. And when the Switch 2, like there's been rumors that it's going to come out next year, or get announced next year, that'll be start of the next generation, even though this generation still has like 4 years left on it. So I think this is a a nothing burger. I don't think Sony's going under. Watch, the day after this post, Sony's going to file for bankruptcy. I don't think that's going to happen, but just with my luck, I've been proven wrong before on many occasions. So definitely everything I say is not gospel. Moving on, this last week, the new Fallout TV series that's coming to Amazon, they haven't released a trailer, but they have dropped a whole bunch of official screenshots for a Vanity Fair interview. And man, does this look really promising. So let me read this article from Push Square. Fallout TV series images, plot details revealed out in April 2024. Meet main character Lucy, Maximus, and the Ghoul. The first official images from Amazon's TV adaptation of the Fallout series have been revealed, along with confirmation the Amazon Prime series will debut on April 12th, 2024. Gosh, I hope they release it all in one bulk. Amazon Prime does this obnoxious thing where a lot of shows, they do week-by-week releases, which I hate with a passion. And then every now and then, they'll have a show where they release it all at once. It's just like, yes! And I don't have to wait a week to find out what happens next. I think they did with Reacher Season 1. I'm hoping they do it with Reacher Season 2. And I think they did with the Terminal List. But, so, continuing on to the article, the show is part of the franchise's official canon and has been written so that it can coexist with games like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, which is actually pretty easy. I'll explain more in a little bit. Lucy's one of the main characters, a vault dweller who is forced to surface on a rescue mission. And then it goes on to say, Westworld creators Jonathan Nolan, Plus There, and Lisa Joy are making the series for TV, while Todd Howard serves as executive producer. Howard said it took so long for a Fallout TV show to get made, as past pitches involved adapting the existing games, whereas he wanted to see something original. That was the other thing. A lot of pitches were, this is the movie of Fallout 3. I was like, yeah, we told that story. Good point. I don't have a lot of interest in seeing those translated. I was interested in someone telling a unique Fallout story. Treat it like a game. It gives the creators of the series their own playground to play in. The Vanity Fair revealed that, then goes on to introduce other lead faces like Maximus, who's part of the Brotherhood of Steel, and then the Ghoul, who is, well, a ghoul. The Ghoul is a gruesomely scarred Rough Rider who has a code of honor, but also a ruthless streak, the article explains. He is the good, the bad, and the ugly, all rolled into one. He's also quite a survivor, having existed for hundreds of years. So, I'm very, very excited about this, because one, when you look at potential games to adapt to the screen, live action style, one of the issues is you take a game like Mass Effect. It's an established story, and the campaign alone, if you do none of the side missions, is like a 26-hour story. And to do that in a movie is insanity. I think they've tried doing a couple of movie attempts. It's just like, what 75% of this story do you want cut to be able to get this to the big screen? It's like, you can't do it. Now, a television series based on Mass Effect would be amazing. Have it 3 seasons, 24 episodes each season, you could pull it off. But when you're talking about a game like Fallout, no two games ever follow the same character at the same time in the same setting. And so the Fallout franchise is like the perfect franchise to adapt into a television series. I mean, you could have it in Kansas City, Missouri, and you wouldn't be conflicting with Fallout 3's Washington, D.C., Fallout 4's Boston, Fallout New Vegas, which obviously takes place around Vegas. I mean, so many of these games have their own unique location, which is a character unto itself, and then a unique character with their own unique story. So you don't have to worry about, like with Lord of the Rings, it's about the one ring. No, Fallout is numerous different stories in this world. You basically just choose your location and then create your own unique story and scenario, and voila, you got a new Fallout project. And so Fallout is the perfect franchise to adapt into a TV show. And from these screenshots, it's looking awesome. Like this first screenshot of the character I assume is Lucy. I'm loving the vault door, how grimy it looks. Granted, her clothing looks pretty fresh, but that's usually the case with like a vault dweller. They have very fresh clothing, and then when they get out into the wasteland, that's what things get dirty. And then the next photo is of the ghoul, which, gosh, what's his name? I can never remember his name. He's this character actor that's like always amazing everything he's in. Walter Goggins, that's his name. I think he's going to be like the best character of this show because he's such a dynamic performer in all of his roles that he always like shines in all of them. And so he's playing a good, bad, and the ugly all rolled in one, and he's this ghoulish zombie. Like, yes, please. And like some of the background shots, it's looking like they did not waste any money in the CGI department. Like the shot of this giant like Zeppelin type blimp thing, it looks great. It doesn't look like crap. It doesn't look cheesy. And then this shot's great. This Brotherhood of Steel armor, I mean, it looks 1-to-1 authentic with the games. And I love that this is getting Bethesda's blessing, and it's going to be considered canon in the series of games, which isn't hard to do because no game really references other projects. It's basically each game and story is its own contained narrative, which I absolutely love, and it's perfect for a television show format. And this suit looks so awesome. That looks practically done, so that's pretty cool. A close-up of Walter Goggins as Ghoul. I will admit, I think the makeup should be a little bit more ghoulish, but when you're trying to make a likable character, if you're going to throw up your lunch, I can kind of get why they toned him down a little bit. But personally, for me, I would like to see him a little bit more rotting, like in Fallout 3. And this is like obviously inside the vault. You see Lucy with another character. The vault background looks great. I can't quite make the number on that woman's back right there. And then this is a bunch of Brotherhood of Steel soldiers. This looks a little bit CGI, but it's going to be a cool scene when it happens. And then Lucy in the wasteland, down plane. I don't know, the plane I'm a little dubious about because one of the things about Fallout is it's an alternate history of what if the 1950s atomic age, what if like transistors were never invented, and so we just kept on with that like 1950s aesthetic for like another 70 years until we reached World War III with China. And so the like wastelands of Fallout have this like 1950s retro atomic look, and that plane nose does not look like a 1950s plane. So I'm a little dubious with that. But I mean, I'm very excited about this. I'm thinking this is going to be pretty cool, unless the trailer sucks. And like this is one of those franchises where you can have a female lead, because just like in Fallout 3, you had this character Amanda. She lived in a fall her entire life, and then she had to go out in the wasteland, and she basically joined a gang. But like, the world of Fallout is basically like the worst case scenario nightmare you could possibly imagine. I remember playing Fallout 3 for the first time, and I was in my teens, like I was 14, 15 at the time, and that was like time of my life I really only drank soda pop. And Fallout 3, there was kind of like this whole theme on clean water. And while playing that game for the first time in my life, it's like I actually had a thirst for ice cold, clean, purified water. And I would stop the game, go in my kitchen, get some water out of the fridge, drink it, and it was some of the most refreshing water in my life. And ever since then, I've always had an appreciation for fresh, clean water. because of a stupid fucking video game. And like, so I mean, that memory always stuck with me. And like, the world of Fallout 3 is like a futuristic world. If someone said, "Hey, name a futuristic world you'd love to live in," I'd be like, "Not Fallout." Like, it is dog eat dog. It is horrifying, and I hope they stick to this theme of like just a brutal, brutal post-apocalyptic wasteland where there are no hold balls rules, no rules apply, and I'm hoping that basically it's just every man, woman, and child for themselves. Like in the Fallout games, everyone's armed, even with a knife. Like even if they don't have a gun, they'll be armed with a knife. Like everyone's armed, ready to go to war, because it's literally every man for himself. Even in the communities, if you're playing the games, go in one of the communities that seem like some civilization has arrived, shoot one person and see everyone pull out their knives and guns and try to kill you. Like, so I'm hoping they keep that aesthetic. I'm hoping they don't have modern day sensibilities in this show. I hope it's brutal post-apocalyptic anarchy. So I'm looking forward to this show. It's looking good so far. Hopefully the first trailer they reveal is going to be impressive. Moving on to other film news. I think she's the lead actress, Kaylee Spaeny? Spaeny? Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your last name right. She was being interviewed on the red carpet by Variety, and she started talking about Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is probably my most anticipated movie of next year. And this article from AVP Galaxy, which is like the best place to get all news Alien Predator, is Kayleen Spaeny? The E before the N is really throwing me. Confirms Alien Romulus timeline, settings, and effects studio involvement. In a recent red carpet interview with Variety for her upcoming biopic Priscilla, Alien Romulus lead actor Kayleen has confirmed the time frame in which the film takes place between the original Alien and its sequel, Aliens. This is a quote from her. "It's supposed to be slotted in between the first movie and the second movie. They brought the same team from Aliens, the James Cameron film. The same people who built those xenomorphs actually came on and built ours." Yeah. So getting to see the original design with the original people who have been working on these films for 45 plus years has been so much of their life, has been really incredible. Spain makes reference to the special effects team responsible for handling the creatures returning from Aliens. She's referring to the prominent workshop Legacy Effects, formerly Stan Winston Studios, whom we can confirm were working in collaboration with Studio Gillis. Studio Gillis is a new effects workshop managed by Studio ADI co-founder Alec Gillis, responsible for the effects behind previous films in a franchise such as Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, The Predator, Prey, and both AVP films. This is making my brain explode. Like, just, I am screaming like a little girl right now. Kind of like this.
Astronaut Fred Wandel!
Like, so, one of my biggest criticisms of Alien Covenant was the fact that the alien was 100% CGI. And it took something away from the franchise. And like with the movie The Predator, the first half of the movie is awesome because you got the Predator practically made, and then they go full CGI on the second half and it loses something with it. And like the guys who Alec Gillis, they have been working in the industry for decades, and they worked on the Thane prequel. And they were so disillusioned with the fact that they did a CGI coating over everything they did that they went and made their own creature feature monster film like The Thing called Harbinger Down. It's a pretty decent movie, some really fun creature effects, all because they wanted to do a creature feature movie that did practically made effects and showed it on screen. And so with everything I'm hearing on this film, the alien isolation references, and now the fact that they're not only using the team that worked on Alien 3, Resurrection, and both AVP films, but also the guys who made the effects in Aliens, I am so excited. I am losing my mind. October 2024 cannot get here soon enough. I think it's coming out in October 2024. Yeah, I think that's when it comes out. But I'm just so excited about this, and like I can't wait for this movie to come out. Moving on to other movie news. This last week, the Furiosa trailer dropped. And hearing about the development of Furiosa, it was like, okay, I mean, I like that George Miller is still working on Mad Max, but is there really enough content to do a prequel focusing only on Furiosa? I kind of like to see more Mad Max. And so I was kind of dubious about this. And when I saw the trailer was available, I was like, okay, I'm going to check this out. I'm not expecting a lot out of this. And so this article from Friday, Furiosa trailer, Anna Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth race across the wasteland in Mad Max prequel. And so I watched this trailer, and wow. Like, after the trailer I was like, I want to see this. You know, like, it sold me. Because, like, it's being made by George Miller. And one thing you gotta remember is George Miller, with Mad Max Fury Road, he had so many female characters in that movie. And they were all freaking awesome. I loved every single female character in that movie. Okay, some of the background ones, not so much, like the milking operation, no. But like the ones that actually had speaking parts, and you know, like the Imora and Joe's wives, Furiosa, and then like the Wastelanders that they meet partway through the film. Like, all of them were just freaking awesome. So, why I bring this up is George Miller knows how to make really cool, likable, strong female characters. And so, since he's making this one, obviously, he's going to write Furiosa well. And so, I mean, it looks like they're still going to be doing that perfect fusion of practical effects with the proper use of CGI overlay, not to overshadow the practical effects, but just enough to pump up the scene. Mad Max Fury Road, it's surprising how much of that is actually CGI. You would never know it because they used it perfectly. They didn't use CGI as a crutch, they used it as like a boost. And I wish more movies would use CGI in the way that George Miller did in Mad Max Fury Road. And like the vehicles are looking awesome. I like Anna Taylor-Joy's casting as Furiosa. I totally can see Charlize Theron in her, and it'll be interesting to see how she loses her arm, because they're showing her with both hands, so clearly she's going to lose her arm at some point in this film, because they show the mechanical arm at the end of the trailer. But like, I mean, it's looking like they're having so much fun with the vehicle designs. I mean, they're making some really crazy vehicles, and it's looking just as grimy as ever. And like, man, Chris Hemsworth is like almost unrecognizable in this film. There's a couple of points where you can hear him, but like the first shot of him, it's just like, holy shit, that's him. You know, like, it's like, who's that? It's like, oh, that's Thor. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in it. I'm looking forward to seeing return of Immo and Joe, seeing that character develop a little bit more. And I mean, just, man, go watch the trailer now. It looks freaking badass. If it wasn't for Alien Romulus, Furiosa would probably be my most anticipated film of 2024. So, moving on to the Game Awards. Couple of things worth noting before I go on to predictions of what I think we might see Thursday night. So, for starters, the Game Awards will be getting rid of the iconic world premiere banners. All announcements will stand side by side. I am so thankful for this because I can't tell you the rage that would boil inside my lizard brain when any time I had to sit through them doing an interview with someone who got one of those plastic awards. They're probably not plastic. And then the screen goes dark, and then you see world premiere. It's like, okay, cool. And then it's a little indie side-scrolling 8-bit game. It's like, okay. And then they do world premiere. It's like, okay. And it's a top-down, like, dungeon crawler. It's like, okay. And it's like only like 1 out of every 10 world premieres was actually something to get truly excited about. Now, I know there's people who love indie games, and you should love them. They're great. They're the stuff a lot of developers onto more greater games. But when you're getting something like the Game Awards, I kind of want to see some big announcements, you know? And so it's nice that they're getting rid of that obnoxious world premiere, because not everything's going to be like this big, bold, you know, thing that the world premiere slogan entices us to think it's going to be. And then, like, Xbox teased, you don't want to miss this Game Awards when it comes to Xbox. Apparently, Xbox is really working closely with the Game Awards this year, which goes to a previous episode of the Console Wars podcast when I asked, are the Game Awards rigged? This is a good argument to claim that it's not rigged, because why would Microsoft be working so closely with the Game Awards if the Game Awards is biased against them? Maybe Microsoft isn't on to it hasn't caught on to the scam, or maybe Microsoft doesn't care. Maybe the Game Awards being rigged is just nothing. It's a fugazi. It's just air. I don't know. Just want to elaborate on that, because I know I previously asked, are they rigged? And now I'm saying Xbox is working with the Game Awards. I never determined that they were rigged. So, moving on to the predictions. What do I predict is going to be at the Game Awards? Well, this isn't much of a prediction, but a metric ton of little indie games are going to get announced. Okay, the little 2-bit side scrollers, the little tiny 15-man development teams making these little tiny indie games. You're going to see a shit ton of those, okay? That's not a surprise. But moving on to, like, I'll do this kind of in company stacks. Starting off with Nintendo, I'm not as first with Nintendo as I would like to be, like I am with Sony and Xbox. I kind of just started getting back into Nintendo. It's been a while since I've had anything Nintendo, so I'm not as first on what to expect. But, like, there's been rumblings that the Switch 2 is going to be announced early next year. Maybe Nintendo jumps the gun and does a light tease at the Game Awards. Unlikely, yes, but it's possible. I mean, 2019, no one thought that the Series X was going to get announced at the Game Awards. So, it's possible. Series X came out the following year in December, so like a year later it came out. So, it's possible. Unlikely, but possible we get a Switch 2 announcement. A little bit more possible that we get a Switch Mini announcement. There's a new patent that recently got uncovered that Nintendo's looking at maybe doing a Switch Mini, something smaller than the Switch Lite that has a smaller screen and, you know, more portable. I don't know if that's a real thing coming. It's a patent that was leaked. It's possible that they were going to announce it at the Game Awards. I think it's more realistic that this would get announced than the Switch 2, if it even exists. And another thing that is a very loose maybe is probably a new trailer for Metroid Prime 4. Sorry if I said Metro. You know, it's been in development for a long time. They said they wanted to restart because they wanted to get it just right. Makes sense because the previous 3 are so beloved. And so, is it possible they show something for it? Maybe. But it's just a maybe. I think what's more likely is they might announce a remaster of Metroid Prime 2 and or 3. Because why would you release on the Nintendo Switch Metroid Prime remaster, the first one being remaster, and then release Metroid Prime 4 for the Switch? That don't make a lot of sense. It would seem like they would want to re-release Metroid Prime 2 and 3 onto the Switch. So, I think you might see that before you see something for Metroid Prime 4. I know nothing's been announced for 2 or 3 remaster that I know of. Maybe there is something out there, but yeah, I think you would have a better chance of seeing that than Metroid Prime 4. And then I think something you absolutely will see from Nintendo are some solid third-party announcements. Nintendo has been killing it this generation with their third-party support. I mean, they just released the Batman Arkham trilogy on the Switch. Okay, like, I will not be surprised if at the Game Awards they announce, hey, you know, Cyberpunk 2077? It's coming to the Switch. Now, that game, a little unlikely because it ran so poorly on the PS4 and the Xbox One, and those are stronger consoles than the Switch. But, you know, I'm not going to say it's impossible. If they turn the graphics down enough, I don't know, they might be able to get it to work. But I think if not that, you will see some other third-party games get announced for the Switch that were like, oh wow, that's cool that that's coming to the Switch. You know, maybe you might see, I don't know, Dying Light 2 get announced a Switch port, because there's Dying Light 1 is available on the Switch, so maybe they'll bring down Dying Light 2 in graphics enough to run on the Switch. I don't know. It's anyone's game what third-party announcements might happen, but I think it's possible that you might see some more third-party announcements on the Switch. On Sony's end, I'm very dubious. Sony doesn't quite make a huge spectacle at the Game Awards. You might see 1 or 2 things announced, like you might see a new trailer for The Last of Us 2 re-release. I refuse to call that a remake because have you seen the side-by-side comparisons? It's the same game. Corporate wants you to find the difference between these 2 images. There's no difference. You know, like, that's how I was looking. I think they're really desperately trying to get excitement for Last of Us 2 re-release, and so they might release another trailer or just re-release the same trailer they've already released at the Game Awards. As for new DLC possibilities, maybe some DLC for God of War. I don't know. I've heard some rumblings that they might do like a huge DLC type game, almost like Miles Morales was kind of like a huge DLC game for Spider-Man 1. And then speaking of Spider-Man, there's a possibility you might see DLC announced for Spider-Man 2, like, you know, the Mary Jane DLC 1 and the Mary Jane DLC 2 and the Mary Jane DLC 3. Because that's what everyone wants, is more Mary Jane for a Spider-Man game. I mean, you know, an idiot could tell you that everyone wants Venom DLC, but let's be honest, the game director, you're going to like Mary Jane whether you want her or not. I am being a little bit sarcastic with that, but probably they'll eventually get onto some Venom DLC, especially since Tony Todd said they only used about 10% of his voice lines, so it's a strong possibility you might get some Venom DLC. I don't know. But then the other thing I think is more likely than any of those from Sony is something PlayStation VR related. Now, I would have said a good possibility would have been Resident Evil 4 VR mode. But that was announced this last week. And it's going to be released on the 8th. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to playing around with that. But in terms of other VR announcements, Sony does need some more games to hype up anticipation for their headset. Because right now, like Resident Evil and Arizona Sunshine are kind of like the only two real big things that are exciting fans for PlayStation VR 2. I know some of the VR 2 diehards, they're talking about like Behemoth and Lo-Fi and some of these other games that are coming next year. But for selling the headset, I personally feel like Sony doesn't quite have that system seller yet. They got close with Village, Resident Evil 8 Village, and they got close with, some of the others. But like No Man's Sky VR on PlayStation VR 2, as amazing as that game is, you can play that on VR 1. As amazing as Walking Dead Saints and Sinners is, you can play it on VR 1. And so I feel Sony hasn't quite had the killer app come out yet that goes, you gotta get a PSVR 2. They have a chance for Thursday night to do this. And then also there was this like space tease. They released a Sony PSVR 2 trailer, and the first couple of shots are of a spaceship cockpit engaging in battle with another starship that, like, everyone in the VR community was like, what is that? Because they showed Horizon Zero Dawn in the trailer. And so they started speculating, like, what could this be? Could this be Concord? Is Concord going to be a VR game? Like what is this? So that might be an early tease of what might be announced Thursday night. I think you might see some type of VR 2 announcement. As to what, I'm not sure. Personally, I would love to see more about Aliens VR from Survivos? I can't remember the company that's making it, but there is an Aliens VR game in development. Could that be somewhat connected? Unlikely, because I don't know of a lot of space battles happening in the Aliens franchise, but you never know. Some people have thought maybe Returnal is getting a VR mode, which I think that would be a good move for Sony, because not only would you get more Returnal games sold, but also you'd have a lot of people going, okay, I might check out Returnal. Like, I was never interested in Returnal, but if it got VR mode, I don't know, I might check out Returnal. Moving on to Xbox, there's a lot of possibilities with Xbox, but I narrowed it down to kind of like 4. The first one is them announcing a mid-gen refresh console, like that Alexa round thing we saw leaked. They might announce that, or they might announce the new haptic feedback controller that also got leaked. I think those are very possible, especially since, sorry about that, Microsoft is willing to announce a brand new console at the Game Awards like we saw in 2019. So those, I think, are very possible. Another thing that I think is a possibility is something from the Coalition. It's been so long since we've heard anything about one of their 2 projects, whether that's the new IP they're working on or the new Gears of War game that they're supposedly working on. I don't expect to see a full gameplay reveal, but at least a CGI tease, I think is very possible for the Coalition to have something like that. And then I think also you're going to see another trailer for Hellblade 2. Will this be a release date announcement? I don't know. A release window announcement? More likely. Like summer 2024. So something like that. I think that's very possible to see at Thursday night showing. And then for other studios, I think a strong possibility is Wonder Woman making a return. We saw Wonder Woman revealed at the Game Awards, so Monolith has no qualms about showing off stuff at the Game Awards, and it's been so long since we've seen anything from Wonder Woman, especially since between that announcement and their last game release, Shadow of War, it's been like over 5 years. So that game's probably more along than you think, and I think we're going to see something from the Wonder Woman game sooner rather than later. Hopefully sooner, because from what I'm hearing of that game, I'm actually really excited about it. And so hopefully all the things that have kind of leaked about that game are true, and we're going to get like an open world Wonder Woman game where she can like brainwash people with her lasso of truth. And I think that'd be a really fun game. And then before I go, I want to do a real crazy prediction. Like, this is so out of the realm possibility. The chance of this actually happening are 1 billion to 1. But if this does happen, I am going to do my entire next cast with sunglasses on, like a sort of victory mode, just like I was right. And that is Alien vs. Predator 4, or a new Alien vs. Predator game. Now, I know what you're thinking, dude, last time an Alien vs. Predator game came out was 2010. It's been almost 14 years, man. Okay? Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. But the reason why I'm making this crazy prediction is because every Alien game that has come out, or every Alien Predator game that has come out, have been pretty successful. Predator Hunting Grounds has been pretty successful, has a pretty dedicated following. I won't say it's Fortnite successful, but the servers are still running on that game, even though it's an online-only game, which sucks. I actually have a copy of it because it's made by Ilphonic, and like with Friday the 13th game they made, one of the last updates they did was they gave it an offline mode, and there's actually a way you can play it offline by creating your own private match. You just can't play as any of the Marines, which kind of sucks. Well, actually, you kind of can, but it's weird, it's iffy, but hopefully they do make an offline mode for it. That's why I have it, because I'm waiting for that company to make an offline mode for it. Getting off point, but that was pretty successful. Alien Colonial Marines was pretty successful despite all the negative reviews. It was very successful. Alien Isolation was quite a hit, even though if it didn't get quite the sales numbers, now it's revealed as one of the greatest survival horror games ever made. And then Aliens Fireteam Elite has been pretty successful. And then the top-down, like XCOM type Alien game, Dark Descent, I've been hearing has been doing pretty well. So Rebellion, the company that made the last Alien vs. Predator game, they're looking at all this. It's like, okay, there is interest in Alien vs. Predator. Now, I don't know if they still have the rights to do it, but a few weeks ago on X, Rebellion posted just a random image from their 2010 Alien vs. Predator game, and I just immediately said, please don't play with me. Is this a hint at a new Alien vs. Predator project? Like, they didn't respond, obviously, but just like, I just immediately was like, please don't give me hope. And so, real crazy prediction, if Alien vs. Predator 4 was announced, I would just lose my collective shit. I am a huge Alien Predator fan, if you haven't learned by now watching this channel. But so, yeah, those have been my predictions of the Game Awards this coming Thursday. That's been the news of the past week. what do you guys think about the stories we talked about today? Are you excited about these upcoming film projects? Are you excited about any of the teases I made on the Game Awards? Do you guys have any crazy wire predictions you'd like to make on the Game Awards? If they're crazy enough, I might mention them next week when we're going over the reactions to all the games that have been announced at the Game Awards, at least the ones that I think warrant discussing. And again, if you have any like pop culture or gaming questions for me, put them in the comments down below, and if they're interesting enough, I might answer them next week on the Console Wars podcast. Until then, my name's Chris O'Connell with 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all for today.